Hi, Mikey Pung here. Thanks for being with me again, and I hope that you're sticking with me through this little exploration of a Romantic era poem by William Blake and Romantic era of the British in British literature. And I hope that you will see some of the value that I see in it, and I've been sharing that with you. But beyond the value of the poem itself, looking at human nature, looking at the way Blake viewed human nature, similar to the way I do about ego and heart, but he categorized it into uh, innocence and experience, and then organized innocence. If you understand the value of innocence, if you understand that that has to be a guiding force and a guiding energy uh, in setting laws, in creating a society that is uh, a free society, a truly free society, and a democratic society, and one that is generous and caring. You have to use innocence. You have to come from that standpoint, but it can't be in naivete. And his poem that is written in his collection called Songs of Innocence, that I'm reading, The Chimney Sweeper, at least the Innocence Chimney Sweeper, there's actually an experience chimney sweeper. It's really interesting to look at the contrast between that. It's interesting for me, not for you probably, but it isn't interesting for me. Um, so I want to continue this poem, and I want you to see how uh, relatively easy it is for those who have moved past innocence into experience and who have decide that basically, in my terminology now, decide that they're not going to listen to their heart, to those whispers of their heart that come all the time, that are there, that are there, that are there. They eventually silence their heart. They don't actually silence their heart, but they silence their brain, their mind, their monkey mind, their 3D mind, to not hear heart. And they purposefully choose ego. Well, it's easy to destroy innocence. It's easy to hurt and to control and to uh, benefit from those who care about who and what we are at our core essence, which is heart, which is love, which is spirit. So I want to show you from this poem how this works. I'm going to go like I have the last couple days. I'm going to share this with you so you can read the words while I read them. So yesterday, well, here, let's just start from the beginning. When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in soot I sleep. There's little Tom Dacre who cried when his head that curled like a lamb's back was shaved. So I said, Hush, Tom, never mind it, for when your head's bare, you know that the soot cannot spoil your white hair. And so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom was a-sleeping, he had such a sight that thousands of sweepers, Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. And by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run, and wash in a river and shine in the sun. Then naked and white, all their bags left behind, they rise up on clouds and sport in the wind. And the angel told Tom if he'd be a good boy, he'd have God for his father and never want joy, meaning never lack joy. We're going to stop there. There's only one verse left to go, and I'll do that in the next video. I want you to see the way those who have worked to keep themselves free from regulation, free from any kind of um, control that would stop them from interfering with others' rights, the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that we know of from the Declaration of Independence, the rights that have to do with the general welfare of humans, that of people in the United States, that has to do with That is the preamble in the preamble to the Constitution. These energies that are heart energies, even though they weren't lived out by the founders, these energies are ones that become the basis of society. Now, as individuals, and I'm going to stop the sharing here, so not to, as individuals, my call, my cry, my purpose, what I would like to do is to just give you who would listen to me something that would resonate with your heart, that would resonate to such a point that you would say, this is who I am. This is what I am. I can't tell you what that is. I don't have a way. I don't have a name. I don't have a religion to convert you to. I'm just saying, know yourself. Know yourself. And when you do that, then you will know, um, you will know that you are way more than crass, unregulated, mercenary capitalists would have you believe you are. And that's what's in the verses that we read today. That is exactly what happens to this little. I'm sorry, I'm kind of messed up here. That's exactly what happens to these kids who were who were sold to be chimney sweepers because the laissez-faire, hands-off, no regulations policy that was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the economic policy, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in Great Britain. Um, and it became the cry of the robber barons of the so-called golden age, and people are touting this as being the second golden age because the robber barons, like the regime, like the dictatorial, authoritarian, um, oligarchical regime that is in place now in America. That's what they want. They want everything unregulated so they can take advantage. So those who already have power, those who got in at first, those who gained wealth, power, and control can make sure that they keep it and protect it. How do you do that? You control everybody. You make it so that they have no regulations on the way they can work. And so that's exactly what's happening in this poem. And uh, this older kid, maybe by a year or two, sees this little boy named Tom Dacre. And little Tom is upset because he's been sold too into this basically slavery. But hey, it's legal. But hey, there's nothing stopping us chimney sweeper bosses from making as much money as we can. And we paid for these kids, so it would help their families. When you start reasoning like that, you're a fool. You're a fool because you're not living and experiencing and enjoying all that you came here to know, experience, enjoy, live, wonder at, delight in, to face challenges and you're not doing it. You're being fools to your own heart. And so what we need to do is to take some wisdom from somebody from over 200 years ago and see that human nature hasn't changed, which means we can still learn from this. So this older boy, by a year or two, tries to comfort and care for it. That's innocence. That's heart energy. Comfort and care for this younger one who was crying, who was hurt, who was enslaved. But of course, the older kid is too. And what's the result of it? Well, this is what oligarchs do. This is what dictators do, authoritarians do. They push you, narcissists actually do. They push other people into codependency. Don't displease me. You got to keep things good. So be quiet. That's what it said in that last verse that I did yesterday. Be quiet. Hush, Tom, because there's a good side to look at. And that's the way kids are, but that's the way we should all be. Not naive, though. These kids are still naive, and this is what comes out here. So little Tom, he's like, okay, well, I'll listen to you, Mr. Narrator of the poem, whoever you are. We don't know who it is exactly. And Tom had a dream that he told the older boy about in the morning. And the dream was that all of these thousands, but he knows four that he names. Thousands were locked up in coffins of black. This is what's amazing. And this has happened to slaves. This has happened to indigenous peoples. This has happened to those who were bullied in different parts of the world by those who were more powerful, who could do it. They get you locked up in such a way that you're okay with it. And even though they were locked up in coffins of black, they had hope, but they still accepted it. We're going to see that. So in the next verse, it says, what, the natural response is, who is there anybody who can help me? Is there a savior? Is there somebody? No. Individually, we help ourselves. The individual becomes corporate, a collective expression when there are those who say, we can help ourselves. We, the people, we can help ourselves if we bend to and listen to heart energy. But here, little Tom, his savior is in his dream. An angel comes by, had a bright key. Oh, there's hope. There's this glimmer, this shiny thing that I can hold up, and I can set you free. I am the angel. I can set you free. And then the boys, they get out and they get to go and do all the stuff that they weren't getting to do that should be part of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They they come down a green plain and they laugh and they run and they jump and they wash off, they get all clean and enjoy the sunshine. And then they're free. They don't have any dirty clothes anymore. They're naked and white, and they leave the work stuff behind that was their baggage, that was their the things weighing them down, and they get to be free. When is that? When is that? They rise up on clouds and sport in the wind. And the angel told Tom if he be a good boy, he have God for his father and never lack joy. What you got to do, you people that are in such bad straits now, you got to remember there's heaven after this. Oh, you're going to be miserable here. That's bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be pleasant. But it does mean that you have it in your heart to change things now. And we have it to, other videos to come, other things about healing. And I've talked in my previous videos, a lot of them about healing and about turning to heart. The basis of life is to, no matter what you call it, you can call it different things. It doesn't have to be mine. It's not a doctrine. We have these operating systems of ego and heart. Ego's default because it had to be for us to become flesh and blood. But we came to experience this flesh and blood time with heart energy. When we get those mixed up, it creates problems. We don't have to live like this, but we certainly don't have to live and say, oh man, it'll just be so great. Well, once all these regulations are out of the way and the government, like it's doing now in America, guts all these programs that helps people like little kids and like not having child labor, like having the environment being safe from commercial, just crass capitalism. You, it doesn't have to be like that. It's not like, well, later on it's going to be great. We'll come up with a thing. Do you know that? This is just a random thought. Do you know that when plastic was first invented and started being used widely in the 30s and 40s, when it started really coming, there were a number of scientists that said, what are we going to do with this stuff? It's not biodegradable. It doesn't break down. What are we going to do with it? Where's all this going to go? And the ones who just cared about capitalism, who just cared about how much can we get, how much, if that's the way you vote, if that's the way you run your life about how much can I get, you're not here in your heart. And you're creating more trauma and more wounds for yourself and more healing that needs to be done. Remember who you are. Remember who we are as human beings. And even though I dislike the way things are and people that are manipulating the way things are now, I dislike them, but I remember that deep down inside they have heart. There's a heart core that is the essence of love, and they could still hear their hearts. I don't hold out hope for that. I'm not going to go. I would never go and preach. I wouldn't choose to hang around them. I mentioned that yesterday. They need to be uh, they need to be deleted from um, our experience. Our They call themselves leaders. They're not leaders. They're destroyers. They're the destroying experience. They need to be deleted from what they're doing. Now we need to eliminate them in terms of using our voice, organizing the innocence, knowing the things that are important, that heart is important, that this is the way we came to live life. Then let's vote that way. Let's run society that way. Let's speak that way. We can, you can ignore it. But if you do, if we do, as we the people, then those who do that are not hearing their own heart by and large. And I'm not saying no right or wrong here. Believe me, no, not even for those who are the dictators and authoritarians and crass capitalists and oligarchs. I'm not even saying there's right and wrong. I am saying it's evil when you choose to ignore your heart and to destroy and make life miserable for other people just so you can have power, wealth, and control. I'm saying that's evil, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that those people are experiencing lives that are not why they came here. And then they're in a collective sense, if we want to do that, if we want to leave it open for individuals to be able to respond to heart, they have the most opportunity to do that. We need to hear our own hearts and know that we are love and know that we are divine, that we are divinity. And we can do this for ourselves. And once we do that, we know how to relate to society. And we are social beings. We came here to enjoy this, enjoy one another. So we should treat one another with heart energy. If that's being done on a collective level, where there's at least a slim majority that are like that, we won't experience the kinds of things, the fascism and the dictatorships and the wars that are waged against those who are helpless, where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of innocent people are wiped out because of ego. I wish I could share. Read some of my poems. Go back and you see some of my poems. I'll put them together at some point, maybe right after this. But understand that we each have the ability to know our hearts. We don't have to wait for a future bright promise, an angel holding a little bright key. Angels know better. They come to help us here in the trenches, in the nitty-gritty of life. There are angels that can do that. It's not some westernized, Christianized concept of angel. Not at all. Not where it's like they'll come and they'll help us because they'll remind us that we get heaven at the end after all our miserable suffering. Bullshit. So I know I've been pretty strong in this and I've been preachy, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I want us to understand, those few of you who hear this, that you have a heart, that you have heart energy, not the physical heart, but you have heart energy. You have this divine core of love. Everything does, every plant, every uh, animal, creature, birds, trees, organic, inorganic, has heart, has an essence, a core of love, and just being self. That is love. Now, I express myself in this way. I write, I speak, I can communicate. And I've done other things in my life that were means to be able to express love. I don't always do it perfectly. And there's always this mix of ego in there with it. Not that ego's a bad thing. Ego's a good thing because it's a balancer. But I choose as often as I can, when I remember, when I'm not letting ego take charge, that I want to experience life through heart. And that's what I'd like you to do. I'm leaving it here for now because I've said way too much already, I'm quite sure. I'm going to finish this poem, the next video. Until then, remember, love, heart energy, and love are what should drive the political, governmental, economic, societal decisions that are made. Precision, because that's where it should start individually. And these group things, they should just be expressions of individuals. And when they're not, you can be sure that ego is what is operating, and it's going to take us away from why we wanted to come here and live this life and experience it. Until next time, I want you to remember this: love and peace.